Now, as the centenary of the 1916 Rising approaches, a conference starts in Dublin today examining the way in which Ireland marks its past. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to be speaking to Lara Joy of the National Museum, who has brought in some fascinating memorabilia from the period. But first, Aisling Reardon looks back at how we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the Rising.
The military parade passing the GPO to mark the 50th anniversary of the 1916 Easter Rising. The date was the 10th of April 1966, and the timing of such an event was important. The Irish government was anxious to secure the country's future with the European Economic Community by showing that relations with both Britain and Northern Ireland had improved. And the state-sponsored event was an opportunity to showcase the successes of independent Ireland while also honouring the men and women of 1916. As part of the anniversary, President Eamon de Valera opened the Historical Museum in the restored Kilmainham Jail. This was significant because of the many leaders of Irish rebellions who were imprisoned and some executed there. De Valera also urged those whose family members took part in the Rising to contribute to the museum.
For my own part, I think there's nothing that brings us closer to some person who has parted from us as an article which he has used in life. A pipe, a walking stick, a pen, a piece of his writing, the chair which he has sat, a table at which he has worked. These things bring us very close to the personality of those who have gone away, and consequently they are of great value in linking us here of the present up with the past.
Since then, smaller commemorations have taken place, and with the centenary looming, it'll be interesting to see what is planned.
Larry. Oh, that was Aisling Reardon reporting there. Sorry, I was talking to Lara already about it. Lara Joy is with me now from the National Museum. And Lara, you've really brought in some fascinating items, if you like, from the period. But first off, it's been dubbed the Decade of Commemoration. Just talk me through all of the things that you are going to be involved in commemorating.
Well, over the next 100, or it's now the 100th anniversary, so over the next 10 years, you've got the lockout this year, then you've got the start of World War I next year. 1916, of course, 2016 will be a very big anniversary. And then you're into the War of Independence, the ending of World War I, and the Civil War then in 1922-23. So it's a very busy 10-year period. OK, well, listen, starting with the lockout, you've actually got Jim Larkin's pipe with you. I have Jim Larkin's pipe here. Again, in the museum, we have a lot of personal objects, and this is his pipe that he would have smoked. It's unbelievable. And you actually, you have a photograph of him with this pipe as well. Which will be put on display in an exhibition in August, yeah. So that's one of the things. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Sterling silver. I mean, it's a good pipe by the looks of things. It's a very personal object for him. You can see him using it, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's, OK, and then moving on from that, you've some very poignant reminders here of some of the children who died during the 1916 Rising. Talk to me about Charles Darcy. About 38 children died during the Rising, about 350 civilians. And we know at least 2 or 3 of the children were actually involved with the rebellion. And this relates to Charles Darcy. He was a member of the Irish Citizen Army at the age of 15. Can you see that there? And yeah. Your little picture of him there, that's his mascot. He was killed on the first day of the Rising. The first day of the Rising he was killed. What happened to him? He was in with Sean Connolly at City Hall at Dublin Castle, and they got swamped by the British Army, and there was a lot of casualties, including Sean Connolly and Darcy were both killed. So very, very young. And then we have his 1916 medal here also, which he would have been issued in 1942, or to his mother, of course. That was given to his mother in 1942, and then she gave that to us in 1970. So 1942, those medals were issued? Those medals were given out. How many of them would have been issued? About 5,000 medals were given. I know the joke is, you know, everyone was in the GPO, but we know about 5,000 were involved altogether at that time. And so I presume people had to provide documentation, to get these medals. It was very rigorous. This is inscribed as well, Charles Darcy. With a number, 22. 22. If you had died during the Rising or before 1942, your name was placed on the back and was given a number. Otherwise, if you were still alive at the time, you just got the medal with no signature or anything like that, or any print on it. And I know you've other documentation relating to Charles Darcy. You've a school report on him. A school report of him. Again, he would have left school after primary school at 13, so getting a good reference from his school teacher was essential for him to get a job. And he got a job in a draper's shop. He would have worked as an apprentice, and again, of course, at a young age, at the age of 14, he joins the Citizen Army in 1914, and then in 1916 is killed on the first day of the Rising. So.
Yeah, very sad. Now, we actually have some footage of the damage that was done to the city during the 1916 Rising. We might take a quick look at that. Okay, so plan of the Sackville Street area. So this is obviously where the GPO was.
Yeah, it's the GPO, the area of the lower Sackville Street, or O'Connell Street as we know it today. So you have the GPO there on the left-hand side, and everything that's marked in red was just completely destroyed during the Rising.
Really? Completely destroyed?
Completely destroyed. And this map would have been made by the Dublin Fire Brigade afterwards, and then given to the insurance company so they could work out the costings. So essentially the whole area, Lower Abbey Street, where you have the Lewis line up along there, up as far as the forecourts, huge damage all the way up to the forecourts, up into Church Street, almost £2 million worth at the time of damage. So again, the shock to the city is colossal. This is a normal day, it's Easter, it's a holiday time, and suddenly a week later, even less than that, 5 days later, the city centre of the second city of the empire is completely destroyed.
And so what was it? I mean, I know they brought a warship up, didn't they?
They brought the Helga up into the Liffey. It wasn't, when I was a kid, I was told it was a big warship, but it was actually a very small one.
Oh, really? I always thought it was massive as well.
Massive. I always thought it was the pride of the British Navy. No, it was a very small trawler with one little gun. But it did fire.
A small trawler with a gun, okay.
But the story was better than the reality.
But they fired into O'Connell Street from that?
They fired into O'Connell Street, but also into Liberty Hall, which would have been around the Custom House, that area around there. They would have fired a lot of shells, about 20, 25 shells altogether. Yeah.
So an awful lot of that damage was fire damage then, was it?
Fire damage, because of course the fire brigade couldn't get out to put out the fires. So once the artillery was fired on the Tuesday and Wednesday, fires start, and then you get a firestorm taking over the whole city. The firemen can't get in to stop it, and once it takes hold, the whole city is destroyed. That consumes the GPO eventually, and that's when everyone in the GPO has to flee into Henry Street and up into Moore Street to get away from the fire.
Right, so it was a huge event. Now, you've also brought a copy of the proclamation.
Yeah, we have 3 copies of the proclamation. There were about 26 all around. There were printed about 1,200 of them at the time, and again, it's the statement by the rebels of what they were going to do, the new republic. And it's an amazing document. It kind of promises equality for everyone, and then universal suffrage for everyone, which again, at that time, women didn't have the vote. So it was a big step to making that statement in 1960.
How many of them are still in existence?
About 28 at this stage.
28. So
26, 28,
it's an extremely valuable,
very valuable
piece of paper as well. What's that worth, would you say, roughly?
Well, at the height of the Celtic Tiger days, you were looking at €700,000 for a proclamation. They now seem to have come down to about 200,000. They don't come as often as they did, but they were very popular during the Celtic Tiger days.
A huge piece of Irish history.
Very important
piece. I mean, can I ask you, it's interesting. I mean, we were looking there at Aislinn's report. There was the 50th anniversary, which was a big anniversary. The 75th kind of passed by. Peak of the Troubles.
Well, peak of the Troubles.
So this, what would you expect for the 100th? It's almost like you can celebrate it again.
You can celebrate it. In 1991, there was definitely the Troubles were overshadowing it. There was a huge sensitivity. When the National Museum put on an exhibition, there was a fear of having too many guns on display. And would this leave a message? So now I think everyone's more interested in just talking about the last 100 years, looking at the history and interrogating that and looking at that. So it's going to be a more open process.
So we will see your full collection this time. You have a huge collection, haven't you?
We have about 15,000 objects. We're keen to get it scanned onto our website and also get it onto into the exhibitions.
So it'll be fascinating. Listen, Lar, thanks very much indeed for coming in this morning. Thank you.